name first.
I'm Tony Reddick, superintendent, Gadsden City Schools.
If you would, Tony, talk with us about what we've got going on here so far.
Well, first of all, let me say we were greatly blessed that we've had no incidents with our children here. Apparently, there was, I'm going to say, an alleged potential intruder into our school, but very blessed that our staff took care of all our natural, regular protocol in regards to school safety. I want to commend Principal Kristen Woods in particular for how she handled this situation. Mr. Keith Blackwell is our Director of School Operations and Safety, and he's drilled our principals and our administrators just year long about how to avoid situations like this. And if there was ever an example of what the right thing to do is, then it was exemplified here today. We're very proud of our staff for having that happen today.
And Tony, can you talk about what happened inside? Did someone notice something?
Well, as best I know, there was a potential intruder. Apparently, there was a gentleman who was, came around to several doors trying to get inside the building. Our principal was alerted immediately. She went around to make sure that all those buildings were secure, which they already were. And next thing we know, she was able to contact our SRO, School Resource Officer, who, as my understanding, confronted the gentleman outside. She gathered a few staff members who were curious about what was going on and tried to move them away. Next thing we know, there was another officer who came to assist, and then whatever transpired after that. Yeah, I don't have a lot of details. We don't know who the other gentleman was, whether it was anyone just a passerby or what have you. But our primary concern was just making sure that if someone who is not authorized to be in our building does not enter, and our kids are safe. And so we're very pleased that all the kids were safe. In fact, the kids even now don't even know what transpired here today. Yeah, they don't know.
You would talk about right now, it's summertime. Who was here in the school building?
Well, we have literacy camps. Obviously, we have concerns about the Literacy Act, and so we have literacy camps at most of our schools.
I'm sorry, you tearing my microphone up. I'm sorry, man.
Okay.
You start over if you can.
Okay.
Sorry about that. We
Yeah.
can talk about
Yeah, we have, due to the Literacy Act, State Department, we have literacy camps at all of our schools, our elementary schools during the summer, so we were having literacy camp here today. 34 students present today, and they were fortunately in a place of safety already. Any of them who may have been, and I'm not certain that there were any in this particular vicinity, were moved to an area of safety. And as I said, we continued with instruction on lockdown, so the kids were oblivious as to what was going on in and around the front of the building. We were able to call in a bus to pick them up and transport them to our local high school. Each parent was called individually and told that there was just an incident. Even the parents aren't exactly sure unless they've speculated based on what's on social media. We had them to triage at our high school, at which time we transported the kids there, and within 20 minutes all 34 students were with their parents.
If you would talk about the emotions of getting a call like this after the climate we've been in this continent.
Absolutely. It's the kind of call you don't want to get. Mrs. Woods, called somewhat distraught this morning, so much so I wasn't exactly sure what the problem was, but I immediately got in my vehicle and came here and was met by, the number of, probably more than of the police cars that you see here now. And I knew it had to be something really bad. And sure enough, when I got here, I was able to go into the building. She kind of shared with me, what I've just shared with you. And my mind, first of all, went to how are our kids? Are our kids okay? Not so much concerned about whether or not they had been in contact, but whether they even know what's going on. And so we were assured that our kids, again, were oblivious to what had just transpired. They're just having a normal day, enjoying themselves at Lit Camp. Mrs. Allison Farrell, who leads the Lit Camp, fortunately, I guess coincidentally, has been having safety training throughout the week, and so she shared with me a little while ago that the kids were actually excited about exercising what they had just learned, throughout the week about student safety. And so loading on the bus was pretty easy. We loaded them on along with several teachers, getting them to the triage area at the high school. And so, but from an emotional standpoint, you definitely have concerns when you hear about something potentially traumatic that has happened in today's climate. As I may have said earlier, we understood that in the Uvalde situation, that very unfortunate situation, that particular gunman was able to get into an unlocked door. So our doors remain locked. And again, in this situation, I don't know anything about the potential intruder in terms of whether he is armed or not. But there were some pretty brave and courageous police officers who handled that situation with the safety of our children foremost in their minds. And we're very grateful to them for that.
You said you're not sure if the suspect was armed. Were there reports that he may have been armed? Did they see something that was suspicious?
No one has really told me any of that yet. Again, my focus has just been on kids, so I don't know. I imagine the officers involved will probably report some of that stuff later, but I don't have any of that information.
And again, how grateful are you to have an SRO here?
Oh,
Like, it's not slow.
listen, I can tell you, we are going to have some conversations about more SROs in our schools. Now we have about 18 or 19 SROs assigned to our 13 schools, 13 including the alternative school, but some of them are part-time, some of them are having to split between two schools. Clearly an incident like this, drives me to try to find support. Unfortunately, in the city of Gadsden, we're short police officers. I think to the tune of nearly 30 police officers, so it makes it difficult for us to find people to fill in these SRO positions. We do have, as I said, have about 18 or 19 that serve our 13 schools. But I couldn't be prouder of, as I said, Mrs. Woods and the SRO who was on the scene who tried to handle this situation as gracefully as he possibly could. Again, I don't know all the details, but I'm assuming there had to have been at least a minor confrontation. So I'm just speculating about that, but because of the outcome. But I think everyone did a great job in handling this situation.
Could you confirm whether or not the intruder is deceased?
Well, that's not for me to say. My eyes may say something, but my mouth shouldn't say. But I'm going to leave that to the law enforcement to kind of share that information. So I'm not at liberty to say anything about the potential intruder.
I'm sure days before today, just like all small towns, you're like, this is never going to happen to Gadsden, but we're going to do the protocol, we're going to practice, we're going to train. What do you say for those small towns across the country whose guard is always down, thinking it's never going to happen to them?
I think to expect the unexpected, expect the unexpected. And one of the things that I say to our staff all the time is to inspect what you expect. So we have made it a point of making sure that we follow all safety protocols, which include, locking all of our outside doors as well as our inside doors. So if that potential intruder had the ability to get inside the building, I believe our children were still safe because they would have been behind locked doors. Now, as for any staff members who may have been roaming around at that particular time, that might be a little different situation. So to those smaller cities who feel like they don't have enough in terms of resources here, keep your doors locked. Make sure your doors are locked. You've got some kind of way to ensure that your doors stay locked. We're blessed. We're fortunate here in the city of Gadsden and in Gadsden City Schools to have a number of cameras. We've got cameras throughout our schools. We have locked doors that you have to enter through either being let in or through a badge. And even at our high school, we have an alert system that we're hoping to be able to install in all of our schools. It's kind of a trial run at the high school. It's going pretty well, such that if it's just a first sign of an intruder, every staff member in the building presses a button and it alerts, the school lights up, and we have emergency help on the way. So that is something that we'll be doing at all of our schools as well. And so those smaller schools may not have the funding for it right now. We'd like to help them write grants or whatever the need is. In a situation like this is when other schools offer assistance to those who are maybe less able to provide for that kind of safety. And I stand before you pledging that support from Gadsden City High School to any of the other schools, especially those smaller schools who may not be able to do that.
And Mr. Reddick, have you all ever dealt with any situation like this before with the intruder?
Well, we've had claims of, people coming to the school to shoot the school up and those kinds of things, and none of those turned out to be founded, but we still reacted the same way, as if it were an actual situation. And fortunately, as I indicated before, that happened at the high school some time ago, but the alert system made everybody aware And then we have a staff of 7 members at our central office, again, led by Mr. Keith Blackwell, who's our director of school safety, who keeps our individuals, and especially our principals, trained on what to do in situations like this. You know, the thing that's unfortunate is a lot of times we think when we're having that kind of training and we're in a town like Gadsden where that stuff just doesn't happen, you tend to think, you know, I'll partly listen to what's being taught us today, but I'm sure everybody in our system now is on high alert about incidents like this. Again, unfortunate that we've had to deal with these situations in Uvalde and in Sandy Hook several years ago. You never think it's going to happen in your school, and we're very blessed that the same situation didn't occur here. But we don't know the potential of what could have happened had those 2 officers not responded the way they did. So we very much commend them for that.
That's all I have. Very good. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.